Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? Today is Thursday, May 9th, 2024. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I am doing well. Thank you very much. I wanted to do this video for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, we all know what's trending in terms of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar rap beef, and I'm emphasizing rap beef for a reason, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But so everybody is privy to what's going on, and there's so much content, and I've been enjoying sort of seeing how it's unfolded, and the different layers and levels that it's taken, the twists and turns, right? It's like we're all kind of watching a movie. But a couple of things inspired me to want to do this video, and so I put a couple of slides together, and here we are. I think that this image right here is a perfect sort of symbolic representation of the underlying point that I want to make, because I and many others have been talking about for a long time now a war on consciousness. And then I have also, as well as many others, been talking about spiritual warfare. And so the war on consciousness is spiritual warfare because consciousness creates reality, and we are spiritual beings having a human experience, right? And so when I look at these two images, Certified Lover Boy, the cover of one of Drake's album, of Drake's Certified Lover Boy album, which I talked about in a previous video, the one on the left, and then the one on the right of Kendrick and Mr. Morale, excuse me, and the Big Steppers, him and his fiance and his two children, and just looking at the juxtaposing the frequency of both of the energies, right? Because in the Black culture and in the Black community, single mothers catch hell. It's just a fact for being single mothers, and then also the hell you have to go through as a single mother, right? And so the image on the left hand side, although there are plenty of different races and nationalities, represented, I don't know, when I saw this, it just was a really low vibration sort of, oh, okay, he's, certified lover boy, emphasis on the boy aspect is appropriate. And it was appropriate with the message that was conveyed in that album, because I did listen to not all of it, but most of it. So this idea that I can run through and get as many women as I want to pregnant, and this what this image is saying. I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's not. This isn't rocket science, right? I run through them, and the lover boy aspect of it, boy emphasizing again, and then the image on the right representing family, right? Sort of representing, some struggle with the patches on the wall and whatnot. And they're obviously in a very modest environment intentionally, right? And so what this represents, as well as the conversation that was being had in Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which he talked about molestation being rampant in the Black community, which is something that we very, very rarely talk about on a collective level, but it's a very, very big plague in our community. Talking about what happened to his mother, talking about how she projected that on him and the way that that impacted him. And he's also talked about his relationship with his mother and his parents in other albums of the song Fear, where he was talking about the fact that his parents instilled fear in him by the way that they raised him, etc. But on this, going back to this album, Eckhart Tolle being a strong part of the underlying message, the conversation between him and her, where she's talking about the need for therapy, right? I'm saying all of this, and I titled this video hashtag Kendrick Lamar, because this is an ode of respect and paying homage to him. So I want to make sure I say that. And yes, I'm biased because I'm from Oakland, because I'm from California, because I'm a major, major Tupac fan. All of those things matter. They have to be factored into the equation. You know what I'm saying? But even more so than that, I'm a hip hop lover, right? So the music got to be good for me. I don't care what it is you're talking about, or you Cali or not, right? I got to rock with what's being said. But then also, I'm an intellectual, a proud intellectual. And so for me, Kendrick and what's happened over, these last couple of weeks, the message that he conveyed, the energy behind the messages, and yeah, some of it's gully and some of it's mudslinging and all of that. It's a hip hop beef. It's not, a debate between Princeton and Duke. Although I'm pretty sure Kendrick could probably handle that. I know there's many of us, plenty of us in Black America that can step in those stages and absolutely handle up and fill those gaps like Malcolm X. You know what I mean? Etc. So, but the intellectual aspect of this, the pride in being intelligent, yeah, that matters to me, especially as a mother. So, in the bigger scheme of things, in terms of our culture, Black culture, because this is weird, hip hop is Black culture, Black American culture. We can argue about whether we were doing it at certain different periods of time in Africa or in different parts of the world, and there's evidence to show we've always been a poetic, you know what I mean, rhythmically expressive people, all of the native indigenous people around the world. But what we're seeing today, the vibration that's setting the tone, a global tone for consciousness around the world, let's be clear, is 1000% represented, owned, and operated by Black America. Now, if you guys want to argue the semantics about the names, we shouldn't be calling ourselves Black because that's a color crayon. We should be this, we should be that. I was doing those things 10, 15 years ago. I understand. That wasn't my position, but I would engage those conversations at certain points in my growth and understanding. Now I'm just trying to reach as many people with truth as I can and support them and encouraging them in representing themselves in the best capacity in terms of what radiates and resonates with them. That's the beginning stages of wisdom. I feel like being able to celebrate it and appreciate people with where they are and not starting to project or tell them what their truth is, because that's just not the way humanity in the world works. So I want to do this video for the blurs, the Black nerds. We are many, we are strong, the book lovers, the people that actually enjoy intelligent dialogue, that enjoy listening to various opinions, people that may not necessarily we agree with, but we can learn things, studying other cultures, being students of nature and history and global things and wisdom and how things operate, the engineers of the world, not just the physical engineers, but the mental, spiritual, and emotional engineers of the world, the grid stabilizers, the energy stabilizers, energy stabilized energy. So shout out to the energy and the grid stabilizers, because for people like us, we need outside stimulation mentally and spiritually and emotionally to keep our head in the game. So this is, and I appreciate Drake to that end as well, because he's a great lyricist and he is not the reason that these two are sort of battling it out, goes without saying. But he's also one of the chief architects of a lot of the clown shit that's happening in the culture. He's playing his position. And so here we have again light and darkness doing the dance. Not to say that Kendrick is all light and Drake is all darkness, but striving for light, striving to be greater, striving to be better, self-awareness, self-accountability, self-responsibility for a Black man to have this level of fandom, if you will, and success, and to still be holding those things at the forefront. Like, how everybody's been breaking down the lyrics and, oh, he said this and he said that, and the double entendres and all these different things. But you notice the part where he was talking about, I think it was in Euphoria, when he was talking about putting his children to sleep and praying with his children and sort of establishing that they feel loved in their way of seeing and feeling in the world. I mean, those are we don't emphasize those things because it's more so I get it in the battle element about the lyrics. But those were the things that really made me be like, yeah, not just because he said it, but because he didn't have to say it. Not just because he said it and didn't have to say it, but because it needs to be said by Black men who have the fame, who have the wealth, who have the access, and are still like, nah, that's not it. So I have slides to get through, so I'm not going to keep you guys long. I've been talking for 10 minutes already, but I wanted to sort of set a tone for the position that I'm taking on this because yeah, this is just rap and there's so many bigger things to be talking about in the world. Why are we this is a distraction. This is a distraction for people who aren't paying attention. I can chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. So when I finish this video, I'm going to do my 60 days of history. Day 7 is going to be about the Black Jews of Africa and Queen Judith, who was a bona fide warrior conquering queen. So hopefully you guys will tune into that as well. Because we do talk about real serious, important things in this world. So we can also address culture, we can address music, we can address different art forms and still be on post. These are the things that make, we came here to dance, we came here to play. We came here to live. We came here to experience. So I, as a writer, express part of my creativity and my artistry through my write, through the things that I create. The artists do the same. The painters do the same. The thinkers do the same. The rappers, the musicians, the jazz artists, the pianists, the saxophonists, right? The vocalists, the teachers, we're all adding unto the culture of the world, right? The soul of the world. We're all adding to it. So this is a part of the addition to it. You don't have to feel any type of way because it's not your thing. But this idea of like, yeah, this is a distracting, you giving us too much energy. No, this is a day in the office for me. We can talk about what's happening in hip hop culture, especially considering the way that the energy has been harnessed all this time. It's ironic you guys had nothing to say about that. We take no sense of ownership of our own culture. So we're okay with standing back and just letting hip hop and rap devolve into whatever it devolves into. And now all of a sudden there is a cataclysm of energy directed and focused in that area. And we're mad instead of harnessing that energy and using that energy the way that the powers that be or the powers that used to be use our energy all the time. Real quick, a reminder, I'm going to be speaking, let's go from 10 to 2. I'm going to be speaking in Los Angeles Sunday, June 9th, a live presentation hosted by yours truly. We're going to have a live sound bath and it's going to be a high frequency experience. I will be doing a lecture presentation. Yes, I'm getting myself back in teaching mode because it's time. The Gods Are at War. Part 1 is going to be Behold, I Saw a Pale Horse. You guys that follow me already know what it is. And then, or follow my work. No followers, just folks. Part 2 is going to be Mind Over Matter, a Divine New Order. Again, that is Sunday, June 9th in Los Angeles, California. And then on Saturday, June 22nd, I'm going to be speaking in Atlanta, Georgia. Same topic, same frequency and intention. In both of these events, I'm going to also be doing book reading and book signing of ancient people. So I'm very excited about that because that's one of my passions right now, one of my loves. So I'll put the information for the tickets in the description if you guys are interested in joining me. And we have limited tickets available, so make sure you get yours so you can be present with us. There is land, I can assure you, you will find Black people. Black, African, African American, African diaspora, Negroes, Moors, Hebrews, dark skin, brown skin, melanated, indigenous, aboriginal, aborigine, original, Asiatic, Native American, Australian, Hawaiian, etc., also known as ancient people. Ancient People is a social studies and history textbook by ZaZa Ali, a full color 349-page historical play focused on ancient civilizations around the world. Available in paperback and hardcover, book places emphasis on vocabulary, spelling, critical thinking, and more. There are more than 400 photos included in the book as well. Hawaii's last monarchy, the Moors in Spain, the Qadafis of Ethiopia and Kush, the African president in Asia, and Pharaoh Hatshepsut. Click the link in my bio to get more info or go to zazaali.com. Peace and love. So, like I said, I titled this message hashtag Kendrick Lamar. I ain't on no groupie celebrity worship type vibe energy, nothing like that. I see, the artists that I respect as my peers. We don't do celebrity worship here. It's just not a part of the frequency of this channel or platform. But we also, can pay homage to greatness and can, spotlight and highlight greatness, right? And raising the bar on consciousness. And I appreciate the fact that he's upping the ante on lyricism. I appreciate the fact that he's upping the ante on really being not just because the artist's conveyance of their art form to the world, but it's the way that we receive it. So actually listening is a skill that few people possess these days. So just the art form of sitting and being still and listening and taking in the energy and frequency and intention of an artist's work and then going away from it feeling like it added unto you, right? Did it add value or did it just, put you in a dance mode for a couple of minutes? And I also know in the hood, in the ghettos of America, where hip hop is, most predominantly cultured and nurtured, and where it manifests, that the kids in the hood, I being one of them at a certain period, you know, get picked on for being intelligent and get looked over, picked on in our community by the people that look like us, and then looked over once you go out into the world in the schools and in the in the institutions and in the job environments or whatnot. So it's a difficult spot to be in. So I think, movements and momentum like what we just experienced in our experience at the end of this cultural, sort of phenomenon, I think that's an appropriate word, is a good look for those kids in the hood, right? So my brother on Instagram posted this, and this was very profound. So I saved it and I wanted to share it. He said, everything is being amplified during the quickening in parentheses, dimensional vibratory increase. The smart are becoming brilliant and the dumb are becoming exponentially ignorant. Now, if you've been paying attention post 2020 to today, then this message will make a lot of sense for you, because I find it ironic that the backlash that's coming on behalf of Kendrick now, and people that are sort of like, oh, this is a distraction, we have more important things to talk about. Yeah, and when the more important things need to be talked about, you're never around. So cheers to the people that are honing in, the young people in particular, the young Black men in particular, that are honing in on their reading skills and their comprehension and their speaking and their poetry, raising their vibration so that when they speak, they actually have something to say. When Kendrick speaks, he has something to say. Nobody won the war. Hip hop is truly dead. Questlove via Instagram. Nobody won the war. This wasn't about skill. This was a wrestling match level mudslinging and takedown by any means necessary. Women and children, and actually facts be damned. Same audience wanting blood will soon put up RIP posts like they weren't part of the problem. Hip hop is truly dead. Yeah, and you just spoke life into it too. If it's dead, your frequency is a perfect match. For there was no life, no power, no inspiration, no encouragement in anything that you've said. Now, where are you when Hip hop is, or rap music, I'll say, is promoting death and destruction. I don't really see you trending then. Oh, I say it, but nobody pays attention. Whose fault is that? Is it ours? I never heard you say it. Trap music, promoting the sale of drugs and the destruction in our community and our culture. Drill music, a very low point, in my opinion, of Black American culture. If we're going to take credit for the good, then we got to take credit for the clown shit too. Music promoting murder and death on wax for it to be heard and to be felt for generations to come. What say you, Questlove? No, prostitution has become an art form in modern rap. What say you? You'll never want to talk about that. They never want to talk about the whole culture. Because after they do the interview, they're going to Magic City to link up with the girls that look like Sexy Red. I'm just saying. I understand why you won't touch those things. But what about all of the murder and death and low frequency music that has been permeating the airwaves all of this time? And then is your frequency strong enough? Because I know you're a musician. Is your frequency strong enough to put out a signal or a message or a frequency of love and high vibration where you can change the narrative? No? Oh, okay. Well, then I see why you think hip hop is truly dead. Your signal's not strong. It's understandable. Tupac Shakur's estate threatens to sue Drake over diss track featuring AI generated Tupac voice. Now, I covered this in my last episode of Headline News, but I posted this again because I wanted to remember to talk about it. Because the fact that Drake used Tupac's image and likeness and Snoop, you notice Snoop hasn't said a word. It has not dawned on me at all that there could be a overarching agenda behind the scenes to push the agenda of artificial intelligence. Who knows? Maybe Drake already signed a gazillion-dollar deal because they print money like it's nothing now. But somewhere behind the scenes, and then you'll recall when they did the holographic image of Tupac on stage, right? It's constantly harnessing this man's energy. If you look up Tupac, there's constant, consistent messages, videos and content being posted every day. His frequency and his vibration is still very strong in the culture, particularly because the rest of the frequency in the culture is very weak. So there has to always be a host. There always has to be a host to supplement the organic, natural vibration of the creator. So my point is in showing this now with artificial intelligence, this was one of the corniest, clowniest things that anyone in hip hop has ever done, in my opinion. Someone who's already transitioned, disrespecting his legacy, and the culture said nothing. Did Questlove come forward and mention that? Did he say anything about the hologram? What's your opinion on that? What's your opinion on all of the on Lil Nas X doing a striptease on Satan? He's a black man. What say you? Is black manhood dead? And all of the weird shit going on in the industry, satanic representations and wicked demonic energy happening through these artists. And this is the only thing you have to say when there's a little glimmer of light, when people are actually celebrating and cheering for something that doesn't include twerking and popping Molly. I know Molly's not a current thing, but I'm just saying that's the first thing that came to my brain. Replace it with fentanyl or whatever you should choose. And then what Pac said in the song, the AI, Kendrick, we need you, the West Coast savior, engraving your name in some history, hip hop history. If you deal with this viciously, you seem a little nervous, all the publicity. This is so corny. Where are these people? This dude's from Canada. No disrespect to Canada, but bro, we can tell you don't come from the essence or the source. But you got the melanin energy, the frequency, like clearly the rhythmic aspect of it is in your spirit, your soul. We acknowledge that. But who does this type of weirdo shit? And why does the culture just allow it? We have no sense of ownership of our own culture. And this is a representation of the continuity of Black culture continuing to disrespect, the need to disrespect itself. Yes, including Drake. He might be half Black and have a Jewish mother, but let's be clear, the Black aspect, the soul element in his music is why he's in there today. The people who are harnessing his energy are most definitely, they know why they're doing it and why they chose him. And again, Snoop said nothing. So the power players or lack thereof are definitely coming to the surface.
It's been an over decade long feud, and now a new Kendrick Lamar diss record targeting Toronto's own Drake has one local Chinese restaurant caught in the middle, but in a good way. New Ho King on Spadina was mentioned in the song Euphoria, and now the owner says they have since been showered with five-star reviews. Time to learn how to sing the song now. Johnny Liu is the owner of New Home King in Chinatown. He says since last night, his phone has been blowing up with messages. This morning, a lot of people text me and said, "Oh, look at that. That's your son?" I said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, look at that. Look at the song." Don't speak on the family, Cody. I think we think family, Cody. In the song, Kendrick Lamar jokingly pokes fun at the Toronto accent and slang. He then specifically mentioned the restaurant and their fried rice. It's probably a new hot king eat fried rice with a dip sauce and flammy, Cody. He said, good food and might be the fried rice, get more rice. The chef gonna be busy. Since the song was released Tuesday, Google reviews for the establishment have been soaring with positive feedback, with most mentioning the song and their now famous dish. Oh, 7 minutes ago. So people are mentioning the song that Kendrick. Yep, I see that. Kendrick's a good guy. Oh my God. Lou says he expects more customers will be stopping by since he's been receiving this international attention. Even today, customers we spoke to said they made their way to Chinatown to try the fried rice, thanks to the American rapper. I came all the way from London just to see this fried rice, man. Kendrick Lamar, you gotta pay respect to K Dog, man. Ever since he dropped the diss track, I was like, I gotta visit this place.
Now, let me say something. And there's a fan blower, a leaf blower outside that is not far from the window. So hopefully that if you guys can hear that, it'll clear up in just a second. But um, I know that there are other things, very important things going on in the world. I know that, there's the situation happening in the Middle East. I know that there's mad shit going on in the world. I know that. And for those of you guys who feel the need to interject that into every conversation, like why are we talking about this? Why are we giving this so much attention? I'm one of those people you don't need to say that to, because I'm always talking about the important things that are going on in the world. So I want to say that and then reiterate that because, you know, it's like there's there's very volatile things happening in Africa. There's very volatile things happening in the Middle East, but then there's very volatile things happening in America. And there have been very volatile things happening in America for a very long time. And there is a specific people with a specific condition that are found in this land that apparently, not just because it's written in scriptures and because of the things that have happened in the past, but the trajectory of what's happening in the world and the position that those people are playing in the world right now. Take Kendrick and Drake off the table and just recognize the fact that Black culture, hip hop culture, not just the rappers and the athletes and the entertainers. Again, if you're on the intellectual frequency, then you will know for a fact that Black America has contributed greatly to the economy of the intellectual world. If you're looking for it, I just I've made my contribution. Thank you very much. I'm on book 7 now. All praises due to the Most High. 349-page history and social studies textbook. Yeah, we're raising the bar on a global level. So some people will see this and be like, "Oh, is that he should have said a Black restaurant." He's putting more money in other people's hands. This isn't helping our culture. This isn't helping our community. That's lack based consciousness. We need to get a hold of that because I've been continuously talking about the concept of adding value to all spaces. In the alchemist thing, they have a concept called maktub. It's the the isness of life, the so shall it be aspect. And so at going into spaces and places and adding value, changing lives, that's the frequency we want to be on. We don't have to be Chinese or Asian or live in Canada to be able to look at this and be like, and give it the nod and ride the frequency, the wave of kindness, of generosity, of abundance. This is a representation of abundance. You can love and appreciate abundance without having to actually benefit from it personally. This is what the in my mind the concept of the people of God represents, because some of our people want to be black versions of white people, meaning, oh, racism, white supremacy had its turn. Now we want black supremacy. No, I want to live in a space, in all spaces where there is a high vibration of love. So this is adding value. So there's that aspect. And then the other aspect is that, yeah, Kendrick, yeah, all of the rappers, all of the athletes, all of the entertainers. Yeah, you do have the power to just call out the name of a restaurant or of a business or of a something that you purchase or that you like or that you admire or somebody who you appreciate in the culture that doesn't have to be a celebrities, because most of you guys only big each other up. And I get it. This is the boys club, right? But I'm just saying, it doesn't really benefit the larger consensus the way you guys just constantly tout and high five each other. So this is a perfect example of the point. Yes, athletes, entertainers, celebrities from A list to Q list, you can actually speak the name of tag. Oh, you don't even have to use your money. You could just use your platforms and influence to change people's lives. You don't only have to hand out turkeys on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And by the way, if you're going to spend $50,000 on turkey, why don't you just find 5 or 10 families and just divvy that money up between them so you can actually change their lives? It's just an idea.
Here's 10 brilliant details you might have missed in Kendrick Lamar's Euphoria. The song's title likely nods to the HBO series of the same name, which credits Drake as an executive producer and is a show that sexualizes high schoolers, alluding to the rumors about Drake grooming underage women, which Drake himself tried to get in front of on his tailor-made diss track. This might be why Kendrick dropped the song on April 30th, aka National Child's Day. The song then opens with some reversed audio, which when played backwards reveals this. Everything they say about me is true! This is sampled from the movie The Wiz, a black reimagining of The Wizard of Oz, in which the wizard, played by Richard Pryor, is exposed for being a phony that's not even from Oz, which Kendrick is certainly using to jab at Drake for being Canadian. Oh, and Michael Jackson plays the Scarecrow in The Wiz, tying into Drake comparing himself to Michael that's been referenced by both artists. Later in the song, Kendrick says this. I made music that electrify him. You made music that pacify him. I can double down on that line, but spare you this time. If random acts of kindness. Kendrick claims to make exciting music that inspires, while Drake's music is monotonous and puts people to sleep. This sets up the acts and random acts of kindness to be a homophone for act, DJ Academic's nickname. Drake sampled Academics on push-ups. Yet in this same exact stream, Academics went viral for falling asleep while listening to Drake's CLB for the first time. It literally pacified him. Pacify, as in pacifier, also continues the subtle allusion to underage women, which Kendrick warns he can elaborate on, but won't just yet because he's being kind. Somebody had told me that you got a ring. Oh God, I'm ready to double the wage. I'd rather do that than let a Canadian nickel make Pac turn in his grave. The ring here refers to Drake recently purchasing one of Tupac's actual rings for $1 million. Kendrick is willing to double that price because he's disgusted that it's owned by a foreigner who disrespected Pac by using his AI vocals on TaylorMade, which Pac's family condemned with a cease and desist while praising Kendrick's respect for Pac's legacy.
You ain't thinking about no reaper, nigga. I'm reaping what I sow. Okay, got a Benjamin and a Jackson all in my house, like I'm Joe. Okay.
As a surface level bar, Kendrick is boasting his success. He's not thinking about death, he's enjoying the spoils of his riches. He's reaping what he sowed through his music. In this reading, Benjamin and Jackson refer to money, or maybe even paintings by Jackson Pollock and Benjamin West, but also to former presidents that resided in the White House, making Joe a reference to the current president. However, reaping what I sow also refers to his like that verse, the seed that sprouted this beef, meaning he asked for this. In this reading, Reaper refers to what J. Cole called himself on Johnny P's Caddy, while Benjamin refers to J. Cole calling himself Benjamin Button on his new project Might Delete Later, and Jackson again refers to Drake calling himself Michael Jackson, making Joe a reference to Michael's father, Joe Jackson, who infamously beat his children, which is what Kendrick is doing to his sons, Drake and Cole.
There's 3 ghosts left, and I see 2 from kissing and hugging on stage. I love her to death, and in 8 bars I'll explain their phrase.
Kendrick again attacks Cole and Drake for teaming up on First-Person Shooter and a joint tour. I love him to death is odd since it would appear to be praise, but Kendrick says he'll clarify what he means in 8 lines, and here's what he says exactly 8 bars later.
I pray they my real friends, if not, I'm YNW Melly.
YNW Melly went to trial for allegedly unaliving 2 rappers, which is exactly what Kendrick aims to do with Cole and Drake musically, revealing what he actually meant by love him to death.
So again, to reiterate my point about the war on consciousness, right? And going back to what I was just saying, because I don't even know if I made my point, but I know that in the bigger scheme of things, there are things going on in the world that need our attention, right? Rightfully so. And shout out to all of the people who are continuously bringing attention to those things. But I do know for a fact that the biggest war, the biggest culprit of ignorance in the world, ignorance, which all races, all nations, all lands across this planet are suffering from, is ignorance. And the war on the power of the mind, the war on willpower, the war on thought, the war on frequency and vibration. All of these things are relative to the conversation. So any and everything in all schools of thought, in all methods of music and entertainment and performance, in all levels of intellectualism and books and schools and classes and furthering your education, in your careers, in your jobs, in the broader scope of all these different layers of humanity. This war on consciousness has to be addressed because ignorance is permeating the airwaves at a level that's unseen. So sometimes the warrior spirit has to do what the warrior spirit has to do. 2 opposing frequencies can't occupy the same space at the same time. So sometimes confrontation is necessary in the era of clown shit being prominent in the culture. Too much clown shit going unchecked. 75% of rap is anti-female. And yes, that includes coming from the females. The concubine culture, the whole frequency. Pick your poison. I would place most of the blame on them at this point. But Luke walked so Cardi B could run. There's a continuity there. But my point is, there's way too much clown shit going on in our culture. There's way too much clown shit happening in our communities that's going unchecked. So this is one aspect of addressing those things, that confrontation. Because again, 2 opposing frequencies can't occupy the same space at the same time. Kendrick just proved it. Okay, let's duke it out then. Let's have it out, and then let's see what happens. Now there's been a shift in consciousness. The narrative has changed.
If anyone needed further proof that Kendrick is winning this thing, you should have stepped foot in a high school today. I, up until today, taught at a very Drake-centric high school. Rich Baby Daddy is the most frequently requested song to put on my class playlist. If I ask students what they're listening to in their headphones, Drake. The week after the leak was a nightmare. But today I walk in and I can feel that there has been a tectonic shift. The second I walked into the building, I could hear the buzz. I could kind of overhear the conversations. And I was like, oh my God, this is a Kendrick school now. I polled my classes on what they thought, and they were ready to throw down for Kendrick. I had like 1 Drake defender in each class, if that. And honestly, I feel bad for those kids because they were getting screamed at. I had quiet kid walk into class, phone over his head, blasting BBL Drizzy. And then he went up to his friends and got them to freestyle on it. Like, excuse me, this was a Drake high school. I have students who hate reading who are doing the most meticulous, close reading of these lyrics that I have ever seen. They're finding subtle quadruple entendres and like explaining them eloquently to their peers. This is a cultural moment and a true educational experience for everyone.
So there's a video that's trending right now of a sister talking about the literary crisis in America. Remember the other sister some months back talked about the condition of the children who came that she was teaching young children, and she was complaining about the parents' lack of, involvement in nurturing and caring and concern, right? So we have an epidemic, a literary crisis. And to emphasize that point, I write books. I'm an author. And I can't tell you how many times over the course of my life people have tried to discourage me from writing books. Even some of your favorite social media influencers telling me that I'm wasting my time writing books. Books don't sell. That's not where the money is at. Okay. So, in the midst of a literary crisis, and that goes across the board because that's not just Black children, it's Americans, not even just children, grown-ups are not reading. And not reading is causing a very strong lapse in your judgment, in your self awareness, and in your ability to progress and evolve and grow and expand. Because the mind needs consistent stimulation. It needs to be fed, it needs to be expanded, it needs new experiences, it needs a new quality of life consistently, new questions, new answers. So during a literary crisis, we have this woman who's clearly not from the culture of hip hop talking about how exciting it is to see her students be invested and engaged in the literary content of Kendrick Lamar. And going back to what Mr. Questlove said, if you've ever read Shakespeare, Macbeth, for example, all of the killing and the dysfunction in a lot of the greatest fables or fairy tales or literary giants of this world, they all have death and drama and chaos and, and destruction. It's what keeps people engaged. I'm not gaslighting or greenlighting the fact that they hit below the belt. But compared to Hit 'Em Up by Tupac, I think it was pretty civil. And as I'm saying that, and I even recognize that even Tupac's, his situation evolved obviously more to way beyond just the paper and the pen. But my point is, sometimes confrontation is necessary. And I'm not, campaigning for Kendrick, like, oh, but wait, he said he beat his girlfriend and all. Like, I don't know the specifics on any of that. I don't know if what he said is true or he said is true. I don't know. I'm going with the truth in the energy and in the spirits, in the spirit world, because energy moves me. I can tell when God is present and I can tell when God is not. Okay, so I've been emphasizing spiritual discernment or the lack thereof. And post 2020, I think we should all be able to decide and decipher if we have spiritual discernment or not. And when you have spiritual discernment, you can also recognize that even in a situation like this, at the top of the pyramid, there's still energy harnessing going on by the quote unquote powers that be. Used to be, in my opinion. There's still energy harnessing going on. The algorithm is still creating consciousness. You think that the algorithm wasn't promoting so that everybody would see this and become a part of it? Of course it was. But when you have spiritual discernment and awareness, you can tap in and tune into the culture and the things that are trending in the world of art, in the world of music, in the world of politics, and not get lost in it.
Well, he misreads the text. He reads the text. This is why it's very important. Critical thinking skills are very important. This is why it's the most important thing you can learn in college is critical thinking, reading comprehension. I'm not trying to be patronizing. I'm just trying to be honest. I'm trying to be clear. It is the fact that one could listen to or read the lyrics to the song Mother, I Sober and conclude that Kendrick himself was sexually abused is completely against the sense of the text. The text itself is about generational trauma and about the fact that his mother assumed that he must have been abused because of the abuse that she suffered herself. It's about the presumption of it, not about the fact of it. He wasn't touched, but he was still affected because he was constantly chasing manhood. But Whitney's gone by the time you hear the song. She did all she could. Drake, who sent us back to this song. And in this song, Kendrick Lamar told us that Whitney left him. And now we're supposed to sit there and listen to your track where you say, how come you haven't talked to Whitney in 6 months? It's like, we know why. We know why. Because their relationship couldn't survive the results of the trauma that he suffered. And it wasn't SA, it was other stuff. And it's such a beautiful song.
So this was, I have several thoughts about this, but the first thing I just wrote down is, if we can inspire niggas and hoes, then why can't we inspire healing in our culture and in our communities? And this is what the song he's talking about, Mother I Sober, and that whole sort of the expose he did with being brutally honest about sexual assault and trauma in his family with his mother, and the way that that affected him. Now that's a big problem and issue in Black America that we don't talk about, and it all ties back to slavery. That's why history is so important, but it's something that we don't talk about. So for him to be that forthright and talk about those things and be super vulnerable, I for a fact know, as someone with a platform, but also someone who listens to other great minds, that being vulnerable and being authentically vulnerable about what's really happened in your experiences is one of the greatest ways of impacting and affecting people in a tangible, quantifiable way. I mean, like, not going and sitting in a church Sunday sermon and feeling good for the rest of the day because of the drums and the piano and the singing. I'm talking about turning a light on in somebody's head and in somebody's spirit, where truth enters the mind and now there's no turning back. Where all of a sudden you have clarity, or all of a sudden you hear somebody else talk about these extenuating circumstances and they help you to find yourself, or to heal yourself, or to face yourself. So this is a whole different ball game in terms of the quality of the quality of the conversation and the lyrics and the music. Where was Questlove at? What's his review on this topic? Did he ever come forward and put out a message and say, thank you, Kendrick, for being forthright and vocal about something that's happening in our community that needs to be talked about? I don't think so.
I've been off social media for a couple days just to get back on and learn that the biggest rapper in the world is accused of being a child predator by none other than one of the other biggest rappers in the world. This man's response to being accused of being one of those people who touch children was to joke about the other rapper possibly being touched as a kid. And not only that, but he seems to suggest that he's too famous to be a child toucher, saying that if he was, he would be arrested. Listen to the lyrics from the song we just put out, The Heart Part 6. Drake says, I never been with no one underage, but now I understand why this the angle that you really mess with. For clarity, I feel disgusted. I'm too respected. If I was young girls, I promise I'd be arrested. I'm way too famous for this stuff you suggested. Like what? If you're famous and have money and power, you're far less likely to go to prison for any crime because you have influence, you have connections to powerful people in high places. People love you because people worship you as an idol, and people will overlook the crimes you commit. It actually benefits a child toucher to be famous and wealthy and worship, and to clown about Kendrick possibly being touched as a kid makes this whole thing even worse. But all this pales in comparison to when you see this video with your own eyes. This thing I'm about to show you is very disturbing. See, it wouldn't surprise me if some of these people were in fact touching kids, because that's what they do during satanic rituals. The Aleister Crowley, one of the most famous Satanists, who called himself the B666, talked about doing things to children, talked about child sacrifice. Yeah, I believe we're living in a time where the veil is lifting and the idols that people worship, like the six god, are beginning to be exposed, and people are starting to see which side they're actually on. Time for people to wake up. You're either on the side of God, on the side of light, on the side of Satan. Protect the children.
And another thing that I have been, very perplexed by and adamant about is when the Me Too movement occurred and everybody was talking about the casting couch and all of these women who had experienced these tumultuous things, particularly, Black women, all these just different women in the industry came forward and were talking about the type of, things that they had to deal with. But you notice there's never anybody talking about what the children have to deal with. And so now we're seeing this gross undercurrent in our culture, in American culture, and in modern society, but also in government and in elite institutions. Look at how many celebrities, your favorites, who still rock Balenciaga. So the war, the spiritual war, truth versus falsehood, light versus dark, the higher self versus the lower self, is playing out in front of our eyes. So again, developing the discernment, being able to listen to somebody like he just broke down the lyrics, somebody who with compassion and who is, especially as a father, who has care and concern for the young girls of the world, understanding that you have a very large following of those girls that follow you. Wouldn't be a little bit more careful and mindful about how you talk, and then the whole idea of mocking somebody who's been through something like that. Yeah, that's another level. I get it, again, the mudslinging, all of that, but this right here is a scourge. It is a stain on the fabric of the whole entire world. And it hasn't even really come to the surface yet. It's happening now, though. Did Questlove put out a statement for this? Let's just pause for a second. This clown shit, as you can see, Sexy Red at the bottom throwing up the sixes with Drake giving her a crowning her queen because he's already been crowned by his handlers. Did Questlove come out and do a statement about this? Have any of the rappers come out and done a statement about this and talk about this clown shit and how embarrassing this is for Black women all over the world and how corny this is and how attention hungry and self-objectifying and disrespectful to yourself and your children and your ancestors? And imagine how many rednecks got triggered in the audience. Maybe they left and went and grabbed them up a nice little Negro to have fun with because they got triggered from the ghosts of Sarah Bartman's past. When is the culture gonna cancel this clown shit? And how can a clown who's putting his stamp on this clown shit still have respect in our culture? I'm trying to understand, taking nothing away from his musical abilities, but some shit just ain't funny. Y'all let me know when that starts to trend.
Fight him, saddle.
Excuse me, not trend. It's already trending when it gets canceled. When she gets canceled, sign me up.
I won't be.
Please.
I've been off social media.
Fight him, battle him, the media stay instigating. To us, it's real beef. To them, it's instant ratings. Then when somebody gets shot, it's such a problem. That same media is not there. We should stop the violence. Ancestors of ours are screaming from the grave. Cause physically we free, but we still some mental slaves. Ancestors of ours are screaming from the grave. Cause physically we free, but we still some mental slaves. So what y'all think?
I respect D1. I have a lot of love and respect for what he represents. He, to me, is another sort of representative of intellectualism, still relatable to the culture, young Black man, obviously. And I have a lot of love for him for his perspective. But I really need for us to understand that we've never been a monolithic people. And when we talk about a war on consciousness, that war has to be fought on several different fronts. It's not always going to be pretty, right? And so he's talking about battling the things that are happening within the industry and the way that our people are being used to promote negativity, thereby perpetuating the negativity in our community. And that's valid. It's warranted. It's important. But the same conversation about, diddling with children, not just in terms of Kendrick being forthright and vulnerable in his own music, but then what he said about your boy, if it's true, which we just saw some video representation that was very strange and unbecoming of a real man, particularly a Black man, even if he's mixed. I think these things need to be addressed. And I also think that I understand that D1 is a highly intelligent, intellectual brother. He's not the only one. There's plenty of us that can, be engaged in this conversation and be entertained by this situation because he makes music. He's still an entertainer. Whether you're saying something, powerful or not, it's still entertainment. Hopefully, it's educating people at the same time, at least moving them to be something greater than they are in their current circumstances. But it's still entertainment. But there are intelligent hip hop fans and Black people in American culture that have discernment, that can listen to music, that can analyze and assess culture, that can take the best part and leave the rest, or that can have intelligent conversations and dialogue about the stuff that might not be the best. Because there's nothing that the mudslinging that got ironed out and aired out in those videos, there's not nothing that's not happening in our communities times 100,000. We do need to talk about domestic violence. We do need to talk about cheating and relationships and marriage and, having baby mamas and all of the drama that goes between the male female dichotomy, the trauma and abuse that Black men are suffering in this environment from their families, from their community, society, etc. We do need to talk about it. We do need to talk about what it's like growing up in Compton in a war zone and the negative impact that has on you, post-traumatic stress disorder, what it feels like to take a life and then to turn around and be one of the biggest stars in the world. We do need to talk about it. We do need to talk about PTSD in the Black community overall. We do need to talk about why Black women would be green lighting and giving the thumbs up to an artist like Sexy Red. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about why Drake is consistently promoting her. What is this about? This chick works for Satan. I don't know if she signed the contract yet or not, but the writing's on the wall. It needs to be discussed. Our sons need to hear us talking about this. Our daughters need to hear us talking about this. Abuse, sexual abuse against our children in our culture is a really big deal. It needs to be talked about. And when you don't talk about it, then eventually there's going to have to be a confrontation. Why? Because two opposing frequencies can occupy the same space at the same time. You want to heal or no?
Y'all want beef, but y'all don't want bullets. Y'all want the diss records. Y'all say, yeah, rap is fun again. But when Drake's security guard gets shot, now it's like, oh, it's going too far. Y'all want to be entertained, but at what cost? That's the problem, is hip-hop culture has normalized this. And it ain't nothing but another story in the news cycle to a lot of people. The same media outlets that buck this up and egg this on, now they're going to come out and be like, well, it's going too far. You can't micromanage beef.
That's crazy if you think that. Y'all clown people who don't want to be a part of this type of stuff. Y'all say people are clout chasers who talk out against this type of behavior within the culture. We need accountability. We need to throw the whole hip hop culture away and rebuild it from scratch and keep the aspect that's healthy about it, but do away with the toxic elements, yo. All the fans who like to see this stuff, but then who want to say, well, this is disconnected. You have a spirit of delusion inside of your brain. If you think this is disconnected from all these people that this man been beefing with, and you don't think that any of that could have anything to do with this, it's like you have a spirit of delusion inside of your brain and you got to do better. If you're a hip-hop media outlet and you done lived through this type of stuff before and you know what it could lead to, you got to do better. You heard me? As a culture, we got to say it's 50 years of hip-hop. It's time to throw it all away and keep what's healthy, but do away with what's bad, man. Because this is not what hip-hop should be about.
Now, again, I respect his perspective. I respect and appreciate his passion. I would rather hear him talk about and express things that I may not fully agree with, but the passion and the sincerity is real. So I respect it. But I want to emphasize the point, and I think that he's right in terms of a lot of things. I think he's right in terms of micromanaging beef. But let's be clear: there's a lot of shit happening in our culture that needs to go to the wayside. He said we need to throw the whole culture of hip hop away. That's not how it works. That's not how anything that has created a foundational legacy over time and then sort of matriculated or evolved or even devolved into something else. No, the source of what it has always, the organic source and nature of what it is, as well as everything that it's become, has to be put into the pot, analyzed, assessed, and then we can add value based on what works and what doesn't work. And the whole thing about the whole hip hop culture is toxic, but it's a microcosm of a macrocosm. There is a lot of toxic things happening in the Black community. We're not talking about it, but it's not making it go away. So it's either going to get addressed in real time or it's going to get addressed on wax. Wherever there's fear, wherever the fear vibration is strong, yeah, it's getting ready to come to the surface. We just think this war, talk about spiritual warfare, is about the people at the top of the pyramid. Oh, the celebrities are getting exposed. Oh, this, the Diddy's and everybody's focused on the celebrities, not even cognizant of the fact that the same pressure they're under, the same war that they're dealing with is happening to the average man and woman on a microcosmic level. Wherever fear is present, wherever fear is prominent, it's gonna have to get rooted, dug up, disposed of, and then something's gonna have to be put in its place. But there is a lot of dysfunction happening in the Black community, and it's being played out, spelled out every day on the podcast, the anti-male, female sentiment. I don't even understand why people listen to that. Anything that's teaching you to hate women, anything that's teaching you to hate men, anything that's keeping you in a low vibrational frequency, you should be turning away from it.
Kendrick is taking a risk by going ballistic on the industry. He sees this as his duty as a Black figure. Even Drake made fun of that and tried to say, like, oh, you're trying to always free the slaves. Like, that's a crazy comment. You're always trying to be like an activist. It's like, bro, Kendrick is Black history in motion. And the fact that Drake opposes this shows you that, you are not ever a part of the culture. You are always weaponizing and using it. Now that the industry supports you no matter what you do, you're going to keep doing this. You're not going to bow down and be like, hey, this whole altercation, not for me. My comments were in poor taste. I respect Black figures. I respect the Black struggle. He wouldn't say nothing like that. He's doubling down. Why? Because he is directly in opposition of these things. This is the perfect example of the industry manifests into an individual, which is Drake, the music, entertainment, culture industry, versus somebody who is of the culture and of the people. I won't say whether there is a right side or not, but I think it's pretty clear what is real and what is true is facing the most resistance that it ever has. You can see it personified with this whole thing that's going on with these two. There are individuals who embody this essence of authenticity, struggle. They are a product of something real and something strenuous, and that creates somebody who is not trying to generate profit and uplift only themselves. They're trying to do it on behalf of a community.
So, and to his point, the illusion, right? These people program people to believe the program. So it is all an illusion. But if you believe the illusion, then it becomes real. That's how powerful you are. If you accept the illusion, if you vibrate in the fear based consciousness, if you're living in fear consistently, if you are tapped into your higher, your lower nature, somebody sent me a post where someone said there's no such thing as a higher self and lower self. Yes, it is. The chakra system proves it. The higher you go up the chain, so to speak, the more enlightened, the lighter you become, the more aware and conscious and tapped in and tuned in you become, connected to nature, connected to source, connected to something greater. That's why your pineal gland is located right next to your third eye. So if it's calcified, then you're on the lower scale of the higher self versus the lower self. And if it's not calcified, then you're probably walking in the light in one sense or another. Now we choose every day if we're going to follow the precepts of Judas or Jesus. That's what all of those Asar, Set, excuse me, Set or Heru, right? Satan, Shaitan, or the angels, the Elohim. But every day it's a choice. Which wolf do you feed? Going back to the Native American product, every man has two wolves inside of him. The question is every day, which wolf will you feed? Hip hop culture, Black culture has been feeding the wolf of the lower nature. This is why all of our music is operating in a lust, sex-based frequency. And then the concubines will come along and say, so what? What's wrong with sexual liberation and sexual freedom? I'm a woman, it's my body. And it is. But if there's a problem with sexually transmitted diseases, and there's a problem with abortion statistics, and there's a problem with single parent households, and there's a problem with children having mental, spiritual, and emotional deficiencies from not having access to both parents, and there's a problem with a viable, strong continuity of malehood, manhood, and masculine energy and warrior energy. And there's a problem with feminine energy and women sort of taking their rightful places of shaping and molding the consciousness of everything that we give life and birth to. Then yeah, we should be switching gears. We should be changing the modus operandi. Not trying to weaponize your sexualization against the people who created it to use it against you in the first place. I'm talking about concubine culture and whole frequency. Not talking about a woman's right to choose to live her life in whatever capacity. All women know you carry yourself in a certain type of way, you get respect. You carry yourself in that other way, you get something else. It just comes with the territory. It's a frequency game. It's not personal.
Yuho King, after Kendrick's diss track of Drake, is a fever dream. There were people dancing outside, and Blog Keel was even there. I even started dancing, but we came here at night for one thing and one thing
I
only.
heard there's a Kendrick Lamar special. Is that true? No problem. All right, I'm excited, man. I don't even know what I ordered. I just asked for the Kendrick Lamar special.
The manager ended up ordering us 4 dishes for $66 total. And of course, the first dish he ordered us was the Yuho King House Special Fried Rice. They gave us the dip sauce, of course, but personally, I liked it without it. I honestly didn't have high expectations, but I was shocked.
Honestly, might want to be less 5 minutes. This is really good.
This fried rice had incredible bouquet. But the second dish the manager ordered us was this deep fried shrimp dish. I think it's fried with chilies and crispy garlic. They definitely made this fresh to order because it was piping hot. But they also ordered us their spicy chicken wings. The wings are loaded with chilies. I love that they also made this fresh, but I personally love the shrimp better. But this beef broccoli definitely came hot off the wok because this one also burned me. And finally, to appease our wives for going out late, we bought them bubble tea.
So obviously you can see that it just in terms of this restaurant, lives have been changed. And I think this is dope. And again, I'm showing this to emphasize the point about adding value because we don't have to wait for celebrities to add value. We should stop waiting for celebrities to add value. We should be taking the initiative, the individual mom and pops, me and you, us regular people, although respectfully. I wouldn't put myself in a regular category, but the word just doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't do anything for me. So But I'm being facetious, but I'm making a point. We I feel like there is a prime opportunity right now for certain ones among us, the ones who are striving to be in alignment and walk in the light in truth. The times are calling upon us to raise the vibration of ourselves so that we can level out the madness and chaos happening on our planet. But it has to start within. It has to start within. It has to start within. There are positions for think tanks and world leaders and people who can make videos or make songs or make content that can raise the vibration and change a person's mindset or frequency with a word. Now some people who don't have that ability don't like that, and I'm not saying it because we can't quantify the word. Oh, I like what he said about this and this, but I didn't like the fact that he was talking about his family and da 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 da. We do that shit in hip hop, in rap music. You got shows like P Valley and Empire and all this degrading ass content. Y'all love 50 Cent, and 50 Cent's 90% of his content is very anti Black culture in terms of raising the bar on our consciousness. If you just want to tune in and see a drug deal and a murder beef, sure. So let's stop picking and choosing the avenues where we, sort of spotlight the dysfunction. Yeah, there's dysfunction all around. Where's the light? Where's the truth? Where's the thought in the conversation that's inspiring people to change their lives, to change their diets, to be better fathers, to be better human beings? Kendrick has for sure at least 10 songs that I could write off the top of my head that have done just that. And I can still acknowledge that there's elements in his music. You can see the growth and development, you can see the change, but how can we ask any more than be put your best foot forward? The best that we can ask it of any of ourselves, any celebrity, you, regular average Joe, me. The best we can all ask is to put your best foot forward. Do your part, pick up a little bit of slack for the rest of us. Write a song about trauma and healing from trauma and overcoming your lower nature, or trying to be a family man in spite of your lower self getting the best of you. Write a song so that somebody else in that position can be inspired, to perhaps a light will go off in their head. So we don't have to condone. It's like we can be intelligent people. The discernment, this is why it's important, because it's cultivating discernment where you can start feeling truth, because it's not always just about what the person says. We live in a world of liars. Feeling the energy behind the words, the vibration behind the music. What is this conveying to you? You're an energetic being. You have an electromagnetic field. Kendrick has an electromagnetic field. So does Drake. It's all tied into the morphic field. How are you being affected? How are you affecting the morphic field? Now, I can talk about Kendrick and Drake because I know I'm doing my part, contributing to the greater good. Security guard injured in shooting outside Drake's home in Toronto. I was going to read this whole thing. This is from the New York Times, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. Something fishy about this. There's something very fishy about this. I read 4 articles, skimmed through 2 of them, read 2 of them. Nowhere in the article does it say where this security guard got shot. That's number 1. Number 2, there's absolutely cameras. And even in this article, it says that they have it on film who did the shooting. The other articles didn't say anything about it being on camera. But apparently this was a drive-by shooting. A drive-by shooting in Toronto, Canada, by the way. Let's just take a moment. Let's just pause and reflect on that. This sounds like the Hollywood script to me. If there's footage and the person hasn't been apprehended, why hasn't this happened 2 to 3 days ago now? Why haven't we seen camera footage so that who is the suspect? Was he a tall Black man? Was he short? Was he wearing a beanie? Did he have on a face mask? He was in the car. What color was the car? What was the license plate number? They got cameras everywhere. I'm not far from Beverly Hills right now. They got cameras everywhere in Beverly Hills. So in an environment where there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollar homes, you can bet your bottom dollar you're not moving an inch in that neighborhood without being on camera. Feels like a Hollywood production to me. I'm just saying, got to change the narrative. There's a lot of money on the line here. A lot of people still siphoning and harnessing Drake's energy. He still has to perform. Somewhere down the line, he's still a nigga. Let's just be clear about what's happening here. He still has, a duty to fulfill. So we need to change the narrative, and nothing gets to people going like victim consciousness. You see how they try to paint it, this is all of this whole article is about, sort of implying, suggesting that this was provoked by the Kendrick Lamar situation. Mind you, this is the New York Times. What are we really looking at here? Because I saw another video. I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about the fact that all the money that they paid Drake, all the money that was invested into him, and now all of a sudden the narrative has changed, and now his branding is starting to diminish and lose value. So now they got to change the narrative. This is how these people operate. Post 2020, I don't put nothing past them.
No secret.
In a music video 4 years ago,
I could dance like Michael Jackson.
Drake showed off the lavish interior of his Toronto mansion. He never hid the address, even putting that nickname, the Embassy, on full display outside. But at a public council meeting in 2019, an architecture firm hired by the rap star revealed Drake's security nightmare.
Everyone knows where he sleeps, where he eats, and that has really freaked him out, us out, and we need heavy security outside.
At that meeting, the city granted Drake permission to build extra tall fencing around his property. And this week, it was just outside that police say a suspect drove up and shot a security guard.
He was standing outside of the gates in front of the residence when the shooting occurred.
CBC News has learned more about the security firm operating here outside the house. Have a look at that vehicle. Jungle Lion Security presents itself as Canada's #1 provider of security services. But no one answered our repeated calls, and the firm doesn't appear to have a website. We obtained Ontario Transportation Ministry records showing the license plate on the company's vehicle is registered to Aubrey D. Graham, better known as Drake. And the only person listed in the security firm's public profile is the man seen next to Drake in this video, his reported head of security, known to fans as Cubs.
People that are in the rapper world, they are the most highest threat level of any people in the entertainment industry.
The Canadian star's feud with fellow rapper Kendrick Lamar has only raised the stakes,
He always said, I overlook him, stare straight.
with the pair trading escalating insults and threats in a flood of new songs devoured by fans. Police are aware of the beef, but say they don't know the attacker's motive yet. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Why would the security card be in Drake's actual name? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you got enough money now where, and is it your security company? Do you own it? Like, why, why would the name, why wouldn't it be in a trust? Why wouldn't it be in your company name? Why wouldn't it be an OVO? Why would it be in your actual name? This whole situation, all of this shit seems like a fugazi to me. I just, show some footage. There's footage everywhere. They say there was the next day there was an attempted break-in at his place a day after the shooting. Then his London storefront, somebody sprayed "They Not Like Us" on it. Well, we know London has CCTV cameras everywhere. They like to make sure they're watching their people's every move. You can't breathe without a camera watching you, studying you. Where's the camera footage? Or is this all a show? I'm going to end with this. This is an image of the Yihituan movement, or the Boxers' Rebellion of China in the 1900s. And I just did a video about this. So going back to us being able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Please go watch the video and get a little bit of the backdrop of these warriors in China who were basically fighting off foreigners invading their land and invading their culture. And so, as you can see, these are dark-skinned Chinese men. We don't need to go into a history lesson now, but if you want to, we can. But as I said before, everywhere you go, every land you traverse on this planet, there are black, dark-skinned, melanated, original, indigenous, and whatever title you feel best. I'm okay with all of them. They're all supported here. But the warrior spirit. I want to talk about the warrior spirit for just a second. The Yituan, or boxers, arose out of a Chinese secret society that was itself an offshoot of the 8 trigram society. The society's name translated to, quote, the righteous and harmonious fists, and they engaged in mortal acts of training with the belief that it would make them invulnerable. The name boxers was given to the group by English-speaking missionaries who utilized the only similar equivalent word they had for martial artists. So this image to me represents that, as well as the backdrop of what I know was going on in the culture at the time, especially little man in the middle right here with his mug on me. He is not about the jokes. The warrior spirit is lacking in our culture. The warrior spirit is lacking in our culture, and we need mental warriors, spiritual warriors, emotional warriors, and physical warriors. And I'm not talking about, this is not something that's dedicated or predicated on men. We're not even talking about gender. That's a lower level of the conversation that we can have later. If we hurl truth at falsehood, and we do, if we understand that there is a war on consciousness and a war on the mind, where all the power is, and it is, if we understand that Black energy and Black music and Black culture, from the ghettos all the way up to the Black boule, the upper echelons of our culture, the intellectuals, the artists, the gangbangers, all aspects of the culture, right? The dancers, the ballerinas, the beauticians, all aspects of our culture that make us fly and make us who we are. If we understand that that energy has been and is being harnessed on a major level that is keeping the whole entire world locked in a certain frequency, and I don't mean everybody listens to his hip hop and everybody is being negatively affected. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the morphic field, vibrational resonance, energy. I don't have time to get into that now, but we talk about that in my membership channel all the time, because we're spiritual beings here having a human experience. If we can acknowledge and recognize that 2 opposing frequencies cannot occupy the same space at the same time, so sometimes confrontation is necessary, so sometimes ignorance has to be confronted, sometimes the anti-male-female dichotomy, the anti-straight people, has to be confronted. The over-sexualization of our daughters and our women, sometimes that has to be confronted. The sensationalizing of Black men that are overtly sexual and brute in nature and can't control themselves sexually and can't control their habits and are lazy and are not functioning at a high capacity on a global level, that stereotype has to be confronted. The weak, pacified podcast professionals that are sitting around and lambasting and focusing on destroying the spirit and the mind of women, even if they are lesser than. Men who sit around and gossip and talk about women all the time and try to make caricatures of Black women and continuously spit negative rhetoric nonstop, probably from the sake of mommy issues, has to be confronted. The anti-Black male sentiment coming from Black women and all women trying to tear their spirit down and trying to demoralize them has to be confronted. I'm saying this to you as a mother of a son who is now becoming a young man. If you are anti-Black man, me and you are going to have a problem. That's the warrior spirit. I'm just saying, just to prove the point. Post 2020, the powers that be have been punking, punking, the entire world. Satan is on 10, especially in the music business. If all the things that we think that these people have been through, the rituals, the sexual abuse, the MK Ultra, look at what they've done to Kanye. Someone who has the potential to be a light bearer, but is now reflecting darkness. It's happening in real time. You don't have discernment, you don't see it. If you do, it's clear. Most of y'all would rather applaud Kanye and his lower nature than when he was on his Sunday services trying to raise the vibration. Because you're getting your rocks off by watching his wife parade herself around looking like a damn fool. I'm more inclined to think she's his handler than his muse. But that's just me. Satan is on 10. Demonic energy percolating in our culture, in our music, on the street corners of every hood in America. All kind of clown shit happening in Black culture. Sooner or later, there's going to have to be a confrontation. Sooner or later, if we really hurl truth at falsehood, then yeah, the shit's got to go down. The question is, what side are you on? Righteousness and truth? Or lack-based consciousness, victim-based consciousness, and self-hate? So, I wanted to pay homage to Kendrick Lamar. I wanted to pay homage to the people who are still reading and who are still checked in, who are still in the game, who are not on the sidelines, but are on the field, actively adding value to the collective consciousness, to the universal mind, to the reason that we all came here in the first place, to raise the bar on how we carry ourselves, to make Black culture, Black American culture, a shining example for the world, not just in music, in entertainment, but in architecture and poetry and writing and book creations and production and agriculture and engineering and martial arts. Outwitting, outsmarting, outplaying the satanic elements of this world. Yeah, we have a major role to play. Kendrick is doing his part. Thank you very much. ZaZaAli.com is my website. I appreciate you guys for listening. I didn't mean to talk for an hour and a half, but I did have 18 slides. I don't know what I was thinking about. I appreciate your feedback, sending you all love. Have a beautiful day. Peace and love.